"When we saw the fingers on this photo from 1900, gave us the creeps." A series of online adverts have displayed a terrifying and ghoulish image from the early 20th century, showing a group of girls working at a linen mill. In one of the ads, it read, "When we saw the fingers on this photo from 1900, we were shocked. Looked more into it." Another wrote, "This frightening image has been giving us nightmares, and if you look closely, you'll discover why it gave us the creeps." But when you look at the picture, it seemed like it was taken about 1900, or circa 1900. Nothing suggests it was touched up digitally, but it might have been tampered with before that in the processing, printing, or replication stages. On the licensing page of Getty Images, the shot was labeled as follows: "Historical Geography, 1900 in Ireland. This group of smiling Ulster women works in the linen industry in the capital of Northern Ireland. Handkerchiefs and undergarments produced from Irish linen have long been considered among the best in the world. The stem of the plant is used to create flax fiber. All the girls in the picture are holding tools appropriate to their tasks on a string wrapped around their waists." 15 young women pose for the camera at a linen mill in what is now Northern Ireland. The girl in the second row from the bottom, on the right side of the picture, seems like she's carrying something over her shoulder. One reader pointed out that the ghoulish fingers on her shoulder, which Inside Edition called a mystery ghost hand, may be the product of a lengthy camera exposure. The invention of instant photography in the late 19th century continued some photographers from sticking with the long exposure method far into the 20th century. Reader tweet, "Looks like the hand of the lady behind her to the right extended exposure. She first placed her arm on her shoulder and then retreated. You don't notice a blur since the other girl's head is in the way." Additionally, we considered the idea that the fingers on her shoulders may represent raw materials from the linen mill. The girls in the image have cords wrapped around their waists, which are used to hold tools and other equipment. The implements used to look a lot like the fingers on the other girl's shoulder, and one of them is now crashing down on the front side of the female to the left of the one in question. The popularity of this picture is not because it presents a working society that includes women in 1900. It is popular because of a purported ghostly hand with no flesh connected to it, making this photograph gain some notoriety in the paranormal field. When one looks closely at the lady in the second from the bottom row on the extreme right, one will see a human hand. To be specific, a right hand, perched on her right shoulder. We can make out a palm, fingers, and a nail on each finger. Both ladies standing behind her have their arms crossed, so it's clear that none of the visible women's hands are the ones under question. The question then becomes, where did the lonely hand come from? Or whose does it belong to? In my view, the first thing I did was check to see whether the picture was from the early 1900s or if it was a recent forgery. Since its inception in 1994, Snopes.com has amassed a massive library of urban legends, hoaxes, and folklore. The search, however, turned up absolutely nothing. There did not seem to be any glaring or subtle red flags indicating the image was a recent forgery made to resemble old. I started using keyword searches, and ultimately located high-resolution copies of the picture on Shutterstock.com and GettyImages.com. The Getty Images website shows the photograph was posted July 31st, 2005, and bears the following information. Historical Geography, 1900, Ireland. Here are 3 joyful Ulster girls from a linen factory in North Ireland's major metropolis. Handkerchiefs and undergarments produced from Irish linen have long been considered among the best in the world. The stem of the plant is used to create flax fiber. Each female in the shot carries about her waist a chain supporting numerous utensils used in her work. Credit for the picture is identified as SEM, who seems to be an anonymous contributor to the website. The image initially attracted prominence when it appeared on belfastlive.co.uk as part of a history feature headlined Historic Gallery of Ancient Belfast Trades. Uploaded on April 29, 2016, the photograph was sent to Belfast Live by Linda, who recognized the woman with her hand on her shoulder as her great-grandmother, writing, "Great to see an old picture of my Nan in its by-years photo when she worked at the factory. This story has since spread through various media outlets. Many have tried to reach her for details. Because of the mystery surrounding this picture, and because I care about my readers, I made an effort to track down Linda and confirm her identity and relationship to the photos before publishing this article. I performed some further research and found that in the 1911 Irish census, a woman named Ellen Donnelly, who would have been 30 in 1900, was working as a damask spinner in the same district as the factory. Damask weave, for those curious, is making patterned brocade cloth by hand, using brocade looms. Since there is no evidence that this is a recent fake, let us examine the shot and its phantom hand more closely for clues about how it was created. There are 3 fingers and a thumb, all arranged as they would be if someone had wrapped an arm around the girl, whom I will call Ellen, and held her there. So tell me, where can I find the remainder of this enigmatic individual? The most plausible explanation is that another young woman was cropped out of the picture, and then details are added to conceal the alterations. Quite a few indicators point in this direction. Cutting away with scissors, undesired persons or objects, and filling in the empty area with pieces of other images or sketching in details with pencil and charcoal were common practices for retouching photographs before the introduction of Photoshop and comparable editing tools. This was often a time-consuming task, the specifics of which varied by context. According to Jocelyn Sears' essay, photographers and retouching professionals would scratch their film with knives, draw or paint on top of it, and even put many negatives together to produce a single print. Even before the invention of computers, retouching was a popular and time-consuming practice. A retouching workstation, sometimes known as a hinged easel, was used for this purpose. It included an adjustable work surface mounted on a wooden frame that could be tilted to the desired angle. The negative was put on glass, which was kept in place by the middle frame. The light was reflected upward through the negative through a mirror or white paper that could be adjusted and fastened to the base. Light from above was blocked by an overhanging plank of wood, which was occasionally paired with built-in side curtains or a piece of cloth draped over the whole device. Photos might be altered by adding or removing people, objects, or landscapes, altering the look of existing people, or doing all 3. Verdict. If we examine the ghostly hand, and when zooming in closely on the image in the top right corner, Ellen's left, the very first thing that hit me was the black outline beginning from the neckline of her blouse and ending at her elbow. In contrast to the overlapping garments on the rest of Ellen and the other females in the picture, this part of her body has a very distinct outline. There are many dim spots in this image, but they are all the result of shadows and hence have a more subtle quality. We can see that a charcoal pencil or ink was used to draw the unnaturally thick line down Ellen's arm. The difference between Ellen's right and left arm makes Ellen's left arm seem a little too skinny. If you look closely at the sleeve's hem, you won't see any creases or folds in the fabric. Instead, you'll see a clean, rounded line from shoulder to the elbow. Even though the general angle of shadows in the shot suggests that the light source was on the shooter's right, her left arm seems substantially darker than her right arm, in both sleeve and bare flesh. Somewhat oddly, even the sleeve creases are smooth. The transition from Ellen's sleeve to her bare arm is also marred by ink. You may see an apparent error on the girl standing behind Ellen, to the right of Ellen. There is a missing link in the vertical rope, or the short black line, that is meant to connect a tool to the rope around the young lady's waist. My first assumption was that it had just been severed. The vertical rope was apparently also sketched in but left unfinished. The retoucher must have assumed they were sketching the skirt's folds when they really linked the line to a weaving instrument. I observed that Ellen's hair doesn't blend together properly, since the part on the right side of her head, the side we're looking at, is too dark. The hair here looks a lot like the incomplete vertical rope on the female behind Ellen. Additionally, I saw a sizable bald spot at the part in Ellen's hair, which may be an accurate description of her appearance at the time, but which does not fit in with the rest of what we discussed. The most probable explanation is that another young woman was cropped out of the shot, but it still makes for a spooky image. Possibly the photographer, or the employer footing the bill for the photo, wasn't amused when she put her arm around Ellen, in which case the decision was made to have the extra person cropped out of the photo, or else she resigned or was let go shortly after the photo was taken, rendering her ineligible for inclusion in future company photos. We will likely never know the reason someone was taken from this shot, but the evidence tells us they were. It is not unreasonable to believe that the makeup artist either gave up after spending too much time on the body removal and forgot about the additional hand, or that they thought they'd spent enough time on the removal and decided to disregard the hand. It's understandable that nobody thought anything of the ghostly hand photograph until 116 years after it was shot. It is true to say that in any work of art, or any ancient collection, these photos that seem to be perfectly normal hide some. When you take your time and look at them closely, some details emerge and present a new way of analyzing them. This is true whether you are looking at them from a distance or up close. When one examines an image in great detail, one may often find out some quite astonishing information about the subject shown. Consider the picture that is located above. If you saw what we saw, you would definitely feel a shiver down your spine. Regarding the image in question, it takes time and understanding to come to a conclusion. For me, I believe art is a set series of events, and it should only give you chills if you choose to believe the details. The truth is, the picture induces some chills when you look at it very closely, but with our guide and article, I'm sure you now can get the stomach to look at the picture and analyze it to your understanding. With such a time-consuming task, it's not unthoughtful to think the repainting expert or the painter either assumed they had spent enough time removing the person and purposefully neglected the additional hand, or just forgot about the hand after spending hours removing the body.